Imagine a world without cows. No milk, no burgers, no butter. Sounds extreme, right? Well, Bill Gates thinks it might be necessary. Why? Because cow burp. And these burps are fueling climate change, releasing methane that traps heat at alarming rates. Gates has openly said that if we could, we should get rid of all the cows. But is it really that simple? Can we seriously blame climate change on burping cows? Or is there more to the story? Let's break down why this issue has captured the attention of one of the world's richest men and why it might affect all of us more than we think. Cows have a special type of stomach with 4 compartments. The first 2 compartments, that are called rumen and reticulum, are where the dangerous methane gas is produced. When cows eat grass or other feed, they cannot digest it right away. In their rumen, billions of tiny bacteria and microbes help break down what they eat, and this process is called enteric fermentation. The breakdown of cellulose and other complex plant fibers release methane and carbon dioxide as a byproduct. These gases then travel up to the digestive system and is burped out. This release is a natural part of the cow's digestion. So it doesn't hurt to say that cows are basically burp kings. Methane is a greenhouse gas contributing to global warming and is much stronger than carbon dioxide in trapping heat in the atmosphere, which all comes down to why Bill Gates wanted all cows gone from the world. But let us understand this more deeply and not draw a conclusion already. One cow burping might seem harmless, but let us put this into perspective. There are over 1.5 billion cows worldwide. Each one is constantly digesting, fermenting, and yes, burping methane into the atmosphere. While estimates vary between peer-reviewed studies and reports from the FAO, livestock emissions consistently account for more than 10% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Methane, the gas released during this process, might not hang around in the atmosphere as long as CO2, but it is 80 times more effective at trapping heat over a 20-year period. This makes it a powerful driver of climate change. As temperatures rise, the effects ripple across the planet. More heat waves, wildfires, and unpredictable storms. Ice caps are melting faster than ever, leading to rising sea levels that threaten coastal cities and entire ecosystems. Even global food security is at risk. Shifting weather patterns disrupt farming, causing droughts in some areas and floods in others. The role of cow burps in this crisis might sound absurd, but scientists and climate experts agree. Addressing methane emissions is one of the fastest ways to slow global warming in the short term. But what can be done? Eliminating cows entirely is not practical. Millions of farmers depend on livestock for their income, and for many communities, cows aren't just a source of food, they are part of a way of life. So, if cutting out cows isn't the answer, what else can we do? Methane emissions aren't just about the cow, it's about what goes in. Several factors influence how much methane a cow produces. The more a cow eats, the more methane it produces. Bigger portions lead to more fermentation in the stomach, resulting in more burps. Fibrous, tough plants like grass lead to higher methane output because they take longer to digest. On the other hand, grains and starches digest faster, reducing methane. Chopping or grinding feed makes it easier to digest, meaning less fermentation time and lower methane emissions. Adding fats or specific additives to a cow's diet slows down fermentation, cutting methane production. Think of it as tweaking the cow's diet to make digestion more efficient. There are dietary strategies for cows designed to reduce methane emissions. Strange, right? Cows on a methane reduction diet, while humans continue consuming beef without much thought. After all, global beef consumption is soaring, contributing not just to methane but also deforestation and water uses. But let's get back to the cows. Most methane mitigation strategies zoom in on the cows themselves. They focus on changing what cows eat or how they're raised. But isn't that just addressing one part of the food chain? Taking a systemic lens means zooming out and looking at the entire food system. Instead of focusing on cow burps alone, it means asking, how is beef produced, transported, and consumed globally? Could shifting dietary habits in humans reduce demand for cattle in the first place? What role do governments and industries play in encouraging sustainable practices across the board? Let us look at it through an example. One promising solution to reduce methane emissions is adding oils to cattle diets. Studies show that introducing oils like linseed, canola, or even coconut oil can cut methane emissions by up to 20%. Oils interfere with the fermentation process in a cow's stomach, resulting in fewer methane burps. Sounds like a win-win, right? But here's the catch. Where do we get all this oil from? Scaling up oil production could lead to massive land use changes. Forests might be cleared to plant oil crops, triggering monoculture farming, soil erosion, and biodiversity loss. It's a chain reaction. When forests are cut down, there's less carbon absorption. When monocultures spread, the soil degrades and ecosystems collapse. When land use intensifies, there are more fertilizers, pesticides, and greenhouse gases. Suddenly, a solution to methane from cows creates a whole new environmental problem elsewhere. This is where systems thinking comes in. When we tweak one part of the system, like cattle diets, we cannot ignore how it ripples across the entire agricultural landscape. A solution that looks good in isolation might increase demand for certain kind of crops, leading to deforestation. It might shift land use, displacing small farmers and indigenous communities. It also might create food competition between livestock and humans. So, what are the alternatives? Instead of narrowly focusing on just reducing methane emissions from cows, we need to take a systemic approach. This means looking at the whole picture, how cattle farming fits into the larger system of land use, food production, human consumption, and climate change. For example, let's think about how cattle are managed on the land. Practices like regenerative livestock farming go beyond methane reductions. They improve the health of the land by promoting soil carbon capture, boosting biodiversity, and reducing erosion. It's about managing the land in a way that nurtures the ecosystem as a whole, rather than focusing only on how to get fewer methane emissions from the cows. On the genetic front, selective breeding is opening new doors. Farmers are beginning to focus on cows that naturally produce less methane over their lifetime. It's not science fiction, it's about working with nature, gradually breeding herds that are kinder to the planet without drastic dietary changes. And of course, the most straightforward solution is the one that involves all of us. If the world begins to cut back on beef consumption, even slightly, it reduces the need to raise so many cows in the first place. Less demand means fewer cows, fewer burps, and less methane in the atmosphere. So, while cow burps might be causing a lot of noise, the real issue isn't just methane. It's about how we look at the entire system. Tackling emissions through isolated solutions misses the bigger picture. A systemic approach is what we need.